Hello everybody and welcome back to the Python basics. Right now what I want to show you is a really important command that we will use in our backdoor creation, which is the raw input command. Now what that command does is basically it allows us to actually give users an input for a certain command or certain number or something like that. Now I will show you what I mean by that. So let's say we have a variable called number1. So number1. It's easy to realize that we will be storing a number in this variable, and we want to, for example, take an input from a user that is using our code. So how do we do that? First of all, we want to specify that this number will be an integer. So what we want to do right now, we want to type here int, which stands for integer. And what we want to do is open up our brackets and type the function raw underscore input. This raw underscore input will actually ask a user to input a number for us. Now, it could be a string as well, but since we specified right here integer, it will only accept an integer value to be stored in number1 variable. So right here we want to open up another bracket, add a quote sign, so double quotes, enter a number, then we put two dots, then close quotes, and then close two parentheses. The first one parenthesis is closed for this one, and the second parenthesis is closed for this one. So this command basically means that we will actually store a given number from our user. So they will get prompted enter a number, and then they specify, for example, 3, press enter, and then our number1 variable will have a value of 3. So let's press enter right here. And as you can see, this is what our users of code will see. So they get prompted enter a number, and let's say we type here 8, and that's about it. So right now if I just type here number1, you will see that number1 has a value of 8. But let's say, for example, they type here str, which is a string. This will produce an error which will say string is not an integer basically, since it really isn't. So we need to make sure that we receive an integer from the user, but if we wanted to example receive a string, you would just need to use the same here command, just specify here instead of int, specify string or str, which stands for string. And right here, of course, you will not be specifying enter a number, just enter a string. And as you can see, now if the type str, type object string is not callable. Let me just see what do they mean by that. Alright, I don't think you need to specify anything for this string. Let us just see. So if we delete this right here, str, yeah, for string you only can specify the raw input. So let's see number1 now what has, which is a little bit ridiculous name for a string. It has a string value of str, which is what we specified. So let me just clear this a little bit so you can see it better. Then I will type the command once again, so you don't get confused with this. So let's see, this command will be used once we want to get a string input from a user, and this command will be used once we want to get an integer input from a user. Now also, one thing that you need to know is basically as a hacker or as an ethical hacker, it really doesn't matter your code basically doesn't matter if it is well written or not. What matters for us is that it actually works and it doesn't break all the time. So our exploits, our backdoors, they all need to be coded however you want to code them, but the main point is don't break. They shouldn't break. So if you, for example, upload a backdoor on your victim PC and it breaks, it is not a really good backdoor. You want to be able to execute commands as long as you want, and you want to be able to execute some of the tasks that your backdoor can perform without any errors. So that is the only thing that you need to focus on as an ethical hacker, is to create the backdoor without actually producing any errors during the execution of those backdoors. So we saw in the previous video how we can give a value to a variable, and right now we saw how we can get an input from a user. So let's actually make our first program that is not in the Python interpreter. So how we do that? First of all, what we want to do is exit this. So how you exit it is exit and then two brackets open and closed. And this will give us back our root terminal shell. what we want to do is, first of all, let's see where we are. So pwd, we are in the /root directory, and right now let's create our directory for Python programs. Or you can call it any way you want. I will just call it Python programs, and let me change my directory to there. Right now let us actually type here nano python1.py, which is our first Python program, and right here you will get an output of a simple nano window, which we saw a bunch of times. So here we can write anything we want. Make sure once you open a program that you add the .py extension, which stands for Python program. If you do not have this .py extension, you will not be able to execute your Python program. So the first thing what you want to do right here is specify this right here. So at the first line, you want to specify hashtag, then exclamation mark / user bin Python. This is something that you need to include in all of your programs, since it is referring to the Python directory where all the libraries are. So for example, if you were to import a different library that comes with Python, you will not be able to use it if you don't specify this path right here. So remember to always include this in your Python programs. As you can see right here, if I just CT Control O this, enter, and then Control X, and I go to the user share Python, and just type here ls, you will see that there are Python programs right here. So you need to specify this path in your Python program. So let's go back to the root Python programs and then nano python1.py. Right now, let us see what we can create. So what we will do right now is, for example, let's create a program that will ask an input from a user. So it will ask for example, a number, or it will ask for two numbers, and then it will actually multiply those two numbers. So let's do that. It is rather simple. So let's say number 1 equals, so we saw in the previous command, integer raw underscore input. Then we specify enter first number, 2 dots, closed double quotes. You will see that this string right here gets basically gets outputted in green format, which means this is a string. We also need to add 2 additional brackets, close brackets, for these 2 right here. So that is the first command. The second command, we want to ask for number 2, so equals integer raw input, enter second number. This is rather simple, so it is easy to understand. And right here what we want to do is result equals number 1, and then this star sign, then number 2, which will multiply. So this star sign right here is used to multiply 2 numbers in Python program. So as we can see, we will get the result sign out, we will get the value of these 2 numbers multiply stored in the result. But right now, if you were to, for example, compile this program or make it an executable and then run it, you would not get any output right here, since what we need to do right now is actually type here print result, which will print the value stored in result for us. So just Control O this, X, or pardon me, enter, and then Control X, and if we just type here ls, you will see we have our Python program here. Now, you will not be able to run this until you make it an executable. So how do we make Python program executable? We make it with chmod +x. So +x stands for executable, we already covered all of this. And then python1.py. We just enter that and just type here ls once again, and we can see that our program is now in green format, which means it is executable. And how do we run it? We run it with basically just ./python1.py. And as we can see right here, it will ask us for first number. So let's say the first number is 3, enter the second number is 4, and we will get 12 as a result. But let's actually make this even a little bit prettier. So nano python1.py, and let's actually print right here. So we'll do it with the same command that we covered in the previous video. So the result is then 2 dots, then as you remember, we need to specify the % and then S for the, or pardon me, then D for the number, then we close the quotes, and after that % result. which is our integer number, which will actually give us the value of result instead of this %d right here. So if I save this once again, so Control O and then Control X to exit, and then I run once again, so 3, 4, and you will see the result is 12. So that is rather our first Python program. This is how you can make it an executable, and this is how we can do the most simple program that we covered for now. In the next video we will start off with some of the loops that are in Python, for example if loop, while loop, for loop, and all of that, which is really important for us and which we will use in our coding section of Backdoor. But for this video that will be it, and I hope I see you in the next one, and take care. Bye!